Hello students, today's topic is effects of human activities on ecosystems. Will be presented by Shubhajit and Hemlata. You know that the sum of physical and biological factors and their chemical interactions that affects an organism is called the environment. Organisms maintain a balance with each other and with biotic and abiotic factors. The word ecosystem was first used in 1935 by A.G. Tansley to describe a basic unit of environment. The term ecosystem is defined as studying the interrelationships of individuals living in the environment. Human activities show several negative effects on ecosystems. Cutting down forests to grow food crops would bring harmful changes in the ecosystem and affects organisms of each trophic level. Learning objectives. After the completion of this lesson, you will be able to know story of Kolleru Lake, bioaccumulation, food chain of heavy metals in fish, sparrow campaign, steps towards prevention. Keywords: ecosystem, Kolleru Lake, bird sanctuary, pesticides, bioaccumulation, biomagnification, eco-friendly activities, environmental ethics. Let us observe the concept map of the effects of human activities on the ecosystem here. Let us study a pond ecosystem to understand the effects of human interventions. Story of Kolleru Lake. Kolleru Lake is the largest freshwater lake in India, existing between the West Godavari and Krishna districts of the state of Andhra Pradesh. The catchment of the lake extends up to 6,121 km square and discharges excess water into the Bay of Bengal through a 65 km long channel called Upputeru. The Kolleru wetland receives a huge quantity of nutrient-rich sediments from the floodplains of the Godavari and Krishna rivers. In November 1999, the government of Andhra Pradesh declared the lake a bird sanctuary. This lake is hosting 193 species of birds and a variety of flora and fauna, including medicinal plants. It attracts 20 lakhs migratory birds from Northern Asia and Eastern Europe between the months of October and March every year. The lake is an important habitat for an estimated 20 million residents. This freshwater lake has shrunk in size and had a great threat due to pollution. Aquaculture in Kolleru was started extensively in the 1980s and later spread to other areas in the Krishna Godavari Delta. In 1996, almost the entire lake was brought under cultivation and bunds were constructed to keep water out to protect the crops. This diversion affected the natural flow system of the lake and significantly reduced its water holding capacity. This agriculture and industries reduced the catchment area of the lake and fill it with substantial pollutants. The major sources of pollution are agricultural runoff with agrochemicals, fertilizers, fish tank discharges, industrial chemical effluents, organic substances, and municipal and domestic sewage. Excessive nutrient addition to the lake led to the explosive growth of weeds like Eichhornia. The water of the lake turned more alkaline, turbid, nutrient-rich, low in dissolved oxygen DO and high in biochemical oxygen demand BOD. Waterborne diseases like diarrhea, typhoid, amoebiasis and vector-borne diseases are found common among the local inhabitants. The prawns and fish are affected by diseases resulting in abundant farms useless for agriculture. The Ministry of Environment and Forest by the Government of India constituted a committee, Operation Kolleru, to protect the lake. The objective of the program is to bring back the ecological balance of Kolleru Lake. Cutting down a forest for the cultivation of a food crop disturbs the naturally established ecosystem. This replaces the state of dynamic equilibrium with a monoculture. A monoculture is the cultivation of a single crop instead of various kinds grown in different fields. Growing crops in large concentrations provide food in abundant quantities. This situation is optimum for pests and parasites like fungi to grow on these food materials, resulting in great damage. The damage to the crop is prevented by using toxic chemicals like pesticide, herbicides and fungicides. Pesticides are harmful because several other animals are also destroyed. Some of the animals may be predators or prey. Thus, pesticides may cause unpredictable changes in food chains and disturb the balance within the ecosystem. Some have a cumulative effect because pesticides vary in their length of life as toxic substances. Some pesticides and herbicides are degradable, that are broken down into harmless substances in a short time. Others are non-degradable chemicals that contain mercury, arsenic or lead. These non-degradable pesticides are potentially dangerous as they accumulate in the bodies of animals and pass through the food web. The process of entry of pollutants in a food chain is known as bioaccumulation. The tendency of pollutants to concentrate moving from one trophic level to the next is known as biomagnification. Let us learn about seasonal bioaccumulation of heavy metals in fish. Cyprinus caprio of Edulabad Water Reservoir EBWR, Andhra Pradesh, India. The aquatic biota is being contaminated with heavy metals due to industrialization and anthropogenic activities. Recently, fish are considered to be the bioindicators of metal contamination because fish species strongly respond to stress conditions. A study was undertaken to assess the enrichment of heavy metals such as lead, cadmium, chromium, manganese, nickel and iron contamination in Edulabad Water Reservoir EBWR, located in the Rangareddy district of Andhra Pradesh. The water in the reservoir is highly polluted with industrial and agricultural effluents. Cyprinus caprio or common scale carp is a high proteinaceous fish used as food for humans. Heavy metals in water samples and the bioaccumulation in the liver, kidney and gill of the fish growing in the reservoir were analyzed along with glycogen and lipids contents. A parallel study was conducted in water samples and fishes collected from Bibi Nagar, Nalgonda district freshwater reservoir located 30 km near EBWR in Andhra Pradesh. The water and fish samples were collected in 3 seasons: pre-monsoon, February to May, monsoon, June to September, and post-monsoon, October to January in each year. The metal concentrations in the EBWR reservoir were found to be higher than Indian standard limits. The heavy metals could find their way into the human food chain through the bioaccumulation of these metals in the fish tissues. Higher amounts of cadmium were found in the liver, gills and kidneys of fish. It is found that the bioaccumulation was lesser in the monsoon season than in pre and post monsoon seasons. This bioaccumulation causes various physiological disorders such as hypertension, sporadic fever, renal damage, nausea, etc. Minamata disease was first discovered in Minamata city in Kumamoto Prefecture, Japan in 1956. It was caused by the release of methyl mercury from 1932 to 1968 in the industrial wastewater from the Chisso chemical factory. This highly toxic chemical bioaccumulated in shellfish and fish in Minamata Bay and the Shirauni Sea resulted in mercury poisoning. Any living organism can't avoid crises since they are a normal part of life. The Chinese sparrows in 1958 faced a huge man-made crisis as they were suspected to cause crop damage and agriculture loss. People started trapping, poisoning and killing sparrows in large numbers. Sparrow nests were torn down, eggs were broken and nestlings were killed. By the time it was known that crops were not damaged by the sparrows and the campaign ended, it was too late. With no sparrows to eat, the locust population, the country was soon swarmed. Locusts coupled with bad weather led to the Great Chinese Famine. The use of pesticide against the locust population further degraded the land. The instant reaction may be to ban the pesticides, but the pests still have to be kept in check. After using pesticides also, a significant amount of loss of food can be observed. The long-term solution is to find effective methods of controlling pests with less harmful effects. Crop rotation may reduce the occurrence of pests and damage to the crops. Studying the life histories of the pests is sometimes possible to sow the crops at a time of the least damage. Biological control by introducing natural predators or parasites of the pest. The males of a pest species are made sterile. The development of genetic strains or genetically modified plants resistant to certain pests. Environmental ethics is concerned with the morality of human activities affecting the environment. People need to know the laws of the environment and basic ethics of what is right and what is wrong for the environment. These are important preventive measures to be followed, and protecting nature is to protect ourselves. Summary of the lesson: toxic material used to prevent the pest, fungi and other diseases away from the food crop and grains harms in many ways to the ecosystem. Bioaccumulation is the entering of pollutants into the food chain. The tendency of pollutants to concentrate as they move from one trophic level to the next is known as biomagnification. There are several alternatives for pesticide to get more yields with less damage, like rotation of crops, biological control, development of genetic resistant strains, etc. Thank you for watching our video. Stay tuned for interesting videos like this.